Can you tell me, in 10 words or less, what is love? In chapter 11, we're dealing again with the divine in human form, and there's an important concept and distinction here for us to grasp. Swedenborg writes, "All the angels who are in the heavens never perceive the divine in any other than a human form. And what is wonderful, those in the higher heavens are unable to think of the divine in any other way." And the same, he says, is true of people. There is implanted in every man who receives any influx from heaven the faculty to think of God in a human shape. But note what he says later. The sensual man can think of the divine only from the world and the things that are therein, thus of a divine and spiritual man in the same way as of a corporeal and natural man. From this he concludes that if God were a man, he would be as large as the universe, and if he ruled heaven and earth, it would be done through many after the manner of kings in the world. So how is it you can think of God in a human shape without thinking in a bodily way? I find paragraph 80 is really quite useful here. He writes, "Because the angels have no perception of an invisible divine, but perceive a visible divine in human form, they are accustomed to say that the Lord alone is man, and that they are men from him, each one being a man in the measure of his reception of the Lord." He goes on to say, by receiving the Lord, they mean receiving the good and truth which are from him. This they call wisdom and intelligence. Everyone knows, they say, that it is intelligence and wisdom that make a man, and not a face without these. You see, we need a physical shape and form to relate to attach our ideas to, and to learn from. But we can't stop with the physical form. We have to understand shape and form as expressing spiritual realities, such as intelligence and wisdom. We might also think of love, of character, and of integrity, and other ideals. These are the things that make us truly human, although we use our bodies to express them and put them into action. Here are two other passages that, taken together, express the same idea. The mind cannot have any grasp of things that are divine and infinite, except through those that are finite, of which man is able to have mental images. Without mental images formed from finite things, and especially images formed from things that exist within space and time, man cannot begin to comprehend divine things, let alone the infinite. That said, when he talks about understanding the Bible spiritually, he writes this: "There are three things in general that perish from the literal sense of the word when it becomes the internal sense, namely, what is of time, what is of space, and what is of person. Because directing the attention in speech to person narrows and limits the idea instead of extending it and making it unlimited." Think about the way that we understand love. I imagine you have some conception of what love is, but perhaps you find it difficult to describe. You see, we best understand love through the people who love us and the actions of theirs that result from that love. I always remember the saying, "You can give without loving, but you cannot love without giving. We understand love through the actions it motivates, but those actions are not love in themselves, only expressions of it. And the same is true of God. We relate to God through a human form, which we imagine to mean a human shape. But God is love and wisdom, and it is love and wisdom that are truly human. That line in Disney's Hunchback of Notre Dame points this out. What makes a monster, and what makes a man? Today I thought I'd introduce you to the doctrine of life and the doctrine of faith. These two follow on from the doctrine of the Lord and doctrine of sacred scripture, and they complete the collection known as the Four Doctrines. They're written in a very similar format with very many passages and quotations from the Bible. And Doctrine of Life opens with one of the most quoted sentences of Swedenborg's entire spiritual output. All religion has a relation to life, and the life of religion is to do good. So I wonder, are you familiar with Swedenborg's writings? And what particular ideas do you find inspiring or useful? I'd love for you to share your thoughts in the comments below. As always, you're welcome to read along with us or read ahead if you prefer. You may well have questions you'd like to add to the comments. Enjoy the journey.